Good morning. This is Pastor Brian. Thank you for joining me in our daily Bible study on First Corinthians as we read a chapter a day. Today, chapter 13, the love chapter. As we read this chapter, though, remember the very last line of chapter 12. Keep that in your mind, which says, "And I'm going to show you an even better way." So let's read chapter 13. If I speak in tongues of human beings and of angels, but I don't have love, I'm a clanging gong or a clashing cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and I know all mysteries and everything else, and if I have such complete faith that I can move mountains, but I don't have love, I'm nothing. If I give away everything that I have and hand it over my own body to feel good about what I've done, but I don't have love, I receive no benefit whatsoever. Love is patient. Love is kind. It isn't jealous. It doesn't brag. It isn't arrogant. It isn't rude. It doesn't seek its own advantage. It isn't irritable. It doesn't keep record of complaints. It isn't happy with injustice, but it is happy with the truth. Love puts up with all things, trusts in all things, hopes for all things, endures all things. Love never fails. As for prophecies, they will be brought to an end. As for tongues, they will stop. As for knowledge, it will be brought to an end. We know in part and we prophesy in part, but when the perfect comes, what is partial will be brought to an end. When I was a child, I used to speak like a child, reason like a child, think like a child. But now that I have become a man, I put an end to childish things. Now we see a reflection in a mirror. Then we will see face to face. Now I know partially, but then I will know completely in the same way I have been completely known. Now faith, hope, and love remain. These three things. And the greatest of these is love. It's the end of chapter 13, a short but very powerful chapter, a chapter that is commonly read at weddings. I believe it was read at my wedding, in fact. But again, remember the end of chapter 12, and I'm going to show you an even better way. All those gifts, all those things that make us the members of the body of Christ and that we are all necessary in being the body of Christ, all those gifts are good and great. But Paul then says in the beginning of chapter 13, if I have all of these things, if I've got all these gifts, if I've got all these things that I can do through speaking in tongues, if I know all the knowledge of the world and outside the world, if I have all of these things but I don't have love in my life, if love is not my motivator for the way that I interact with the other people, in the way that I treat the body of Christ, then I have nothing and I am nothing. There's no benefit if love is not involved in everything that we do. And here let me tell you about love. And that's basically the rest of chapter 13 from verse 4 on. So these gifts that we have, this being the body of Christ that we are, the faith that we are given, the hope that we have in the resurrection and in one another and in God, love is the greatest out of all of that. Love is the driving force, should be the driving force for all of the things that we do and say in this life. Love is the most important thing, Paul says. We can have all these wonderful things in life. We can have wealth. We can have whatever it is. But if we don't use those gifts, those blessings that we have received out of love and care for one another and for the creation that God gave us, then what's the point? Things are going to end. All things are going to come to an end. except for the love that we have for God and one another. Love God, love each other. The greatest commandment. So what did you hear today? What stuck out to you? What is it that you like most about the love chapter? Write it down, share it with a friend, share it with us. Think about this chapter in terms of what Paul has been building up. Yes, in chapter 12, as I was pointing out, but also before. How is this chapter maybe the focal point of what Paul is trying to say? So again, get those thoughts out if that's where you want to go. If you've got something else that really stuck out to you, then go with that. That's one of the things I love about reading the Bible, are the different ways you can go each time you read it, of what really hits you in that moment. So write them down. It's a great way to remember how God and how the Bible is speaking to you in this moment. And as you do that, I pray that you are well. I pray that you are safe. I pray that you are blessed. And may God bless each one of you. And I hope you can join me tomorrow for chapter 14. Bye.